Have a seat, today's tea is bitter, but still sweeter than the price the villain in this story is about to pay. May's red ledger has just turned to a new page. Are you ready to claim justice with Reddit revenge tales? Have you ever had a man look you dead in the eye and make you feel like you're the one overreacting? My husband had a 9-year affair with a married woman. I found out the way women always do. One careless notification, one name that kept popping up, one work trip that didn't add up. When I confronted him in our kitchen, he didn't panic. He didn't cry. He smirked and said, "She's my best friend. It's none of your damn business what we do." We were almost 18 years married. And in that moment, I felt gutted, like I'd been erased. If you're here for real stories about betrayal, gaslighting, and finally choosing yourself, subscribe now. Because what happened next still shocks me. And here's the truth. The affair wasn't what destroyed me. Staying did. I wasn't some carefree wife who didn't get it. I was the steady one. I paid the bills on time. I kept the fridge stocked. I scheduled dentist appointments, oil changes, birthdays. Everything that keeps a life from falling apart. Eric was on the road a lot. Multi-state jobs, long stretches, motel rooms off the interstate. When he called, I'd lower my voice like the whole house could hear. When he didn't call, I told myself he was exhausted. I'd fold his work shirts and picture us years from now, finally slowing down, finally safe. That's what I thought marriage was: safety. A place you could stand without bracing for impact. So I kept explaining things away. I kept smoothing edges. I kept believing this was a solid system. 2 adults, a home, a shared future. And honestly, I didn't think he'd risk it. Not our life, not our name, not me. But little things started changing, and I felt it before I could prove it. Eric kept his phone close like it was part of his body. If it buzzed on the counter, he'd pick it up fast. If I walked into the kitchen, the screen would go dark, face down, casual, like he wasn't hiding anything. He'd step outside for work calls, even when it was cold, even when it was late, even when his tone went softer out there than it ever sounded in the house. I tried to stay normal. I'd ask small questions on purpose. How's the job going? When do you head back? Nothing accusing. And he'd snap. I'm busy. Like I'd interrupted something important. Like I was the problem for wanting basic information about my own husband. So I swallowed it. I cleaned up dinner. I told myself, don't be that wife. And that's when it hit me. I was starting to feel scared to ask. After that, I started catching a name in his work stories. Dana. Not once, not twice. Over and over, like she lived inside his sentences. Dana said the schedule changed. Dana needs the receipts. Dana texted, hold on. He'd say it like it was nothing, like I was supposed to nod and move on. And I did. I even laughed once, trying to sound easygoing, trying to be the wife who doesn't make things heavy. But that night, lying in bed, the name wouldn't stop replaying. Dana, Dana, Dana. It felt too familiar for someone I'd never met. So I grabbed my phone and Googled her. Just a quick search. My thumb hovered over the screen like it weighed 100 pounds. I saw a few results enough to make my chest tighten. Then I cleared my browser history. Not because I'd done something wrong. Because some part of me wasn't ready to know what I'd find next. Eric came home a few days later and the air in the house changed with him. He wasn't loud. He wasn't angry in a dramatic way. He was cold, like I was an item he'd misplaced, and didn't feel like dealing with. We got into a small argument over something stupid. A bill, a late fee, real-life stuff. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't accusing. I was just asking him to look at me, to be present. He let out this little laugh, not even amused, just dismissive, and said, God, you're so unsophisticated. I froze. What does that even mean? He smirked like he had the upper hand. You wouldn't get it. That hit harder than I expected, not because it was clever, but because it was meant to shrink me, to make me feel behind, embarrassed, small, and the scary part was, it worked. After that unsophisticated comment, the next thing he went for was my body, like it was the easiest lever to pull. He looked at me slow, up and down, and said, You used to try That was it. No context, no concern, just a quiet little cut. I didn't fight him on it. I didn't want another smirk, another lecture about what I wouldn't get, so I did what I always did. I cleaned up. I scraped plates. I wiped the counter. I kept my hands busy so my face wouldn't give me away. But later that night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, longer than I ever had. Not admiring, not checking, studying, like I was looking for the exact reason. I wasn't being chosen. I opened my phone and downloaded a calorie-counting app, not because I suddenly loved fitness, because I thought if I could make myself smaller, maybe I could make him stay. From then on, waiting became part of my day. I'd text him something simple. "When are you home?" He'd reply, "Late." Just that. One word. Like I didn't deserve a real answer. Hours would pass. No updates, no check-in. I'd stare at the clock over the stove while reheating leftovers I didn't even want. I'd tell myself not to call. Because calling meant I was clingy. Calling meant I was overreacting. But eventually, I'd do it anyway. Heart thumping like I was about to get in trouble. Straight to voicemail. I'd set my phone down and try to act normal, fold laundry. Scroll mindlessly. Pretend I wasn't counting minutes. Then, close to midnight, a message would finally land. Stop overreacting. And that's when I realized it. I wasn't married to him anymore. I was tiptoeing around him, walking on eggshells just to keep the peace. After that stop overreacting text, I didn't sleep. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling, feeling stupid for waiting up like a teenager. The next morning I met my friend Linda at a little diner off the main road. The kind with the chipped mugs and the same waitress refilling coffee without asking. I tried to keep it light. I told her a few little things and laughed at my own story like it was nothing, like I was fine. Linda didn't laugh. She set her fork down and said, "Melissa, that's not normal." I automatically went into defense mode. He'd never do that. He's just stressed. He travels. It's work. But my hands betrayed me. I lifted my coffee and my fingers were shaking, just enough that the spoon tapped the cup. Linda leaned in, voice calm but sharp. "Wake up. You don't have to prove you're okay." And suddenly I wasn't so sure I was. A few days later, Eric came home, and the first thing that hit me wasn't his face. It was the smell. Not his usual soap, not motel shampoo, something sweet and sharp, like a department store perfume that clings to fabric. I tried to keep my voice normal. I even forced a little smile. "New soap at the hotel." "Yeah?" He said too fast, like he'd practiced the answer. He walked past me, dropped his bag by the door, and didn't look back. I nodded like I believed him, but my stomach tightened the way it does right before bad news. That night, while he was in the shower, I picked up his work shirt from the floor. I held it for 1 second, then walked straight to the laundry room and turned the washer on. Hot water. Extra rinse. I told myself I was just being productive. But really, I was washing like I could scrub away a truth I wasn't ready to say out loud. And that scared me. After that laundry night, I stopped trusting my own memory. Not in a dramatic way, more like I'd replay a moment and wonder, did that really happen? Or am I making it bigger because I'm tired? So I started using my phone the way people do when life gets slippery. Nothing fancy, just quick notes, dates, times, the exact words he used. Late, busy, stop overreacting, the little phrases that kept landing like pebbles in my shoe, and I hated myself for it. I didn't want to be a woman spying on her own life. I didn't want to feel suspicious in my own kitchen, but I also didn't want to feel stupid. So I kept acting normal. I cooked. I went to work. I asked how his day was. I smiled when I didn't mean it. Then night would come, and my body wouldn't shut down. I'd lie awake listening for his key in the door, realizing something simple and terrifying. My trust wasn't gone all at once. It was dying slowly. And then it happened. Eric was in the shower, water running, steam creeping under the bathroom door. His phone was on the counter, face up, like he wasn't even worried anymore. A notification lit the screen. Dana. And a heart emoji. I didn't move at first. I just froze, like my feet had decided they were done carrying me. My heart was pounding so hard. I could feel it in my throat. I didn't open it. I didn't scroll. I didn't go hunting through his messages like some movie scene. I just stared at that one line, long enough for my brain to stop making excuses. Then my hand reached for my own phone on autopilot. I took a screenshot fast, quiet, like I was stealing proof of my own reality. My fingers were shaking so bad, I almost dropped it. And in that moment, I realized something cold and clear. The first real evidence was sitting in my hand, and I could never unsee it. After that heart emoji, I couldn't just unknow it. I didn't confront him right away. I needed to see if I was crazy, or if my life really was splitting in half. So I checked the travel schedule Eric had been repeating like a script. Same cities, same dates, same meeting he kept mentioning, and there it was. One day that didn't exist anywhere else. Not on the company calendar he'd forwarded, not in the email thread I'd seen. Just a blank spot he kept calling a meeting. My hands were cold as I picked up the phone and called the hotel front desk. I kept my voice polite, like I was asking about towels. "Hi, is Eric Carter checked in?" The woman's tone changed immediately. "I'm sorry. Ma'am, we can't confirm that. Privacy." That word hit me like a slap, because it didn't protect me. It protected him, and I realized the truth didn't need anyone to validate it. It was already showing itself. I drove to Walmart because I didn't know where else to go. It sounds ridiculous, but it's the most American thing I can tell you when your life is falling apart. You end up in a parking lot under fluorescent lights, trying to breathe like a normal person. I parked far out, away from the entrance, and I just sat there gripping the steering wheel. Then I started crying quiet at first. Then the kind you can't control. The kind that makes your chest hurt. I called Linda. My voice came out small. I think it's real. She didn't gasp. She didn't rush to fix it. She just said, steady and firm, "Breathe. Save everything." So I wiped my face with a napkin from the cup holder, got out of the car, and walked inside like I was buying snacks. I bought a box of Ziploc bags. Then I went home and started gathering the important papers. Because fear was turning into something else. Survival. After the Walmart parking lot and the Ziplocs, I stopped pretending I needed perfect timing. There is no perfect timing to ask your husband if you're being played. Eric walked in. Like nothing was wrong. Boots by the door. Keys tossed in the bowl. That same tired look like I was another chore waiting for him. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just stood in the kitchen doorway and said, "Who is Dana to you?" He actually laughed, like I'd told a joke. "She's my best friend." I held my phone up just enough for him to see the name. Then why the hearts? He didn't even flinch. He didn't look caught. He looked offended at me. "It's none of your business what we do. None of your business. Do you know what that does to you? It doesn't just hurt. It humiliates. It takes your marriage, your name, your life, and reduces you to someone who doesn't get a vote." And then he walked past me like I wasn't even there. I stood there for a second, staring at the spot where he'd just brushed past me, and something in me went cold. I followed him into the living room, not chasing him, just refusing to disappear. "Is she married?" I asked. He paused. 2 seconds, just long enough for the truth to surface. Then he shrugged, like it was nothing. "So what?" My stomach turned. I felt nauseous, like my body rejected the words before my brain could even catch up. "So what?" I repeated, quieter. "She has a husband." He rolled his eyes, like I was being childish. "You're being dramatic." There it was. The flip. The twist. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I messed up." Just, "You're the problem for reacting to what he did." And that's when I realized I wasn't arguing with a man who felt guilty. I was arguing with a man who felt entitled. After "so what?" I realized I couldn't keep this as a messy, spiraling conversation where he could dodge and twist. My brain was already foggy from no sleep. So I did the most normal thing in the world when you're overwhelmed. I opened the Notes app and typed a few short questions. Not a script, just anchors, so I wouldn't get bullied off the point. When he walked back through the kitchen, I said it plain. "How long?" He didn't look up. He opened the fridge like we were talking about groceries. A while. My throat tightened. Years. He exhaled like I was annoying him. Then he said it the way you say the weather. 9. 9. It landed heavy, like something dropped inside my chest and cracked. I stared at him, waiting for his face to change, for any sign of panic, shame, regret. Nothing. Just that cold, casual number. Like my life was a detail he'd already moved past. I don't even remember sitting down. But suddenly I was on the edge of the couch with my hands clenched together so hard my knuckles hurt. I asked him, "Do you feel anything?" "At all." He shrugged. A real shrug. Like we were talking about a cancelled flight. "You'll get over it." And that's when I started crying quiet at first. Then ugly. The kind you can't keep pretty. My whole body shook. Eric didn't come closer. He didn't soften. He glanced at his watch. That sound, his watch clicking as he moved his wrist, felt louder than my sobbing, like my pain was just noise interrupting his schedule. Then he said it again, like a final insult he knew would stick. "You're so unsophisticated." I looked at him through tears and realized I wasn't his wife in that moment. I was someone begging to be treated like I mattered. After he said 9 like it was nothing, I couldn't stay in the same room with him. My body felt too loud shaking, hot, embarrassed. So I did what so many women do when they're desperate for clarity. I went looking for her. I searched Dana on social media with my hands still trembling. Her profile came up like a punch. There she was smiling in family photos, holidays, a backyard, a man next to her with his arm around her shoulders, her husband. He looked proud and normal, like he thought his life was real. And that's when the guilt spread, thick and sour, not because I caused it, but because I was trapped inside it. My thumb hovered over message. I stared at the blank box, imagining what I'd even say. Then I couldn't do it. Not yet. I set my phone on the counter and slid down to the kitchen floor, back against the cabinets, because I finally understood. This wasn't just my marriage. It was a whole circle of lies, swallowing multiple people at once. The next morning, Eric acted like we'd had a rough conversation. And that was that. Like time automatically fixes what he broke. He started packing for the road again. Calm, efficient, socks rolled up, toiletries in a bag, phone charger zipped into the side pocket. The sound of the suitcase zipper felt louder than anything he'd said to me. He set the bag by the door, right in my line of sight. Like a statement, I asked, "You're still working with her?" He didn't hesitate. "It's my job." That answer was so clean it almost made me laugh. Almost. Because it wasn't about a job. It was about what he was choosing. Again, right in front of me. He grabbed his keys. No apology. No pause. "No, we'll talk." The door shut, and the house went still. I stood alone in the living room, staring at the empty space he left behind, realizing something brutal. He wasn't confused. He was continuing. After he left for the road again, I did the thing women do when they're trying to make sense of cruelty. I tried to fix myself. I got stricter. Smaller meals, more good choices. I'd stand in my kitchen eating a salad, while my stomach growled so loud it embarrassed me. Even though I was alone, I told myself hunger was proof I had control. I told myself control would bring love back. When Eric came home for a short stretch, he watched me push food around my plate like it was a test. Then he nodded once and said, "Now you're trying." He didn't say it like praise. He said it like judgment, finally satisfied. And that's when it hit me. Clean and ugly. If I lost 10 more pounds, he'd want something else. If I became her size, he'd move the goalpost again. This wasn't about health. It wasn't about attraction. It was about keeping me chasing. I was trading my body, my energy, my peace, my survival just to be treated like I mattered, and I could feel myself disappearing. A couple weeks later, I had to drop something off near Eric's company office. I told myself it was practical, normal. In and out, I parked, grabbed the envelope, and as I stepped out, I saw her, Dana. She was across the lot near a row of trucks, talking to someone like she belonged there. She turned her head and our eyes met. She didn't wave. She didn't nod. No polite smile. Nothing. Just a look that made my skin go tight, like I'd walked into a room I wasn't invited into. I took half a step forward, without thinking, like my body wanted answers. My mouth couldn't form. Then I stopped. In my head I heard it, clear as a bell. I don't belong here. Not in that parking lot. Not in this version of my marriage. Not in a life where I'm treated like the inconvenience. So I turned around and walked back to my car. And I didn't cry until I shut the door, because that looked cold. Dismissive shattered something in me that had been holding on by a thread. After that parking lot moment, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was losing myself. Not just sad, disoriented, like my brain was constantly trying to solve a problem with no rules. So I tried therapy. I sat in a small office with tissues on the table and a neutral painting on the wall. And the first thing I blurted out was, I feel crazy. Not I feel hurt. Not I feel angry. Crazy. Because that's what happens when someone keeps telling you. Your reactions are the problem. The therapist didn't flinch. She just asked, simple and steady, what do you need to feel safe? I opened my mouth and nothing came out. My mind went blank, like I'd forgotten I was allowed to have needs. I sat there, staring at my hands, and realized something that scared me more than the affair. For the first time, the word leave didn't feel dramatic. It felt practical, possible, and that one question put a crack in the cage I'd been living in. Once that word entered my head, I couldn't shove it back out. I didn't make a scene. I didn't announce anything. I just started doing small, quiet things that made my chest feel a little less tight. I opened my own bank account on my lunch break, sat in my car afterward and stared at the paperwork, like it was proof I still existed. I changed my passwords that night, not out of spite, out of self-respect. I saved them somewhere safe, somewhere that wasn't shared. Then I started collecting the grown-up stuff that makes leaving real. Taxes, mortgage papers, insurance info, the boring documents you don't think about until you have to survive without someone. I took photos of what I needed when the house was quiet, quick, clean, no drama. And in front of Eric, I kept acting normal. Dinner, small talk, a nod when he spoke. But inside, I was leaving in inches, every day, a little more. By then, I wasn't even trying to win him back. I was trying to get my footing. But Eric could sense the shift my quieter voice, my shorter answers, the way I stopped chasing him from room to room. One night he watched me rinse a plate and said, casual as anything. If you leave, you'll regret it. I didn't turn around right away. I kept the water running, hands under the faucet, buying myself a second. Then I asked, why would I regret peace? He laughed like I'd said something cute. You can't make it on your own. That sentence hit me in the stomach not because I believed it, but because he wanted me to. He wanted fear to do his work for him. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just dried my hands, picked up my phone, and saved his words in a note. One clean line. That night, in bed, while he scrolled and ignored me, I searched apartment listings until my eyes burned. And the more I looked, the calmer I got. I didn't find some perfect new life. I found a small apartment I could afford, beige carpet, thin blinds, a little kitchen that smelled like fresh paint. It wasn't a dream. It was a door. Linda let me borrow her SUV on a Saturday. We loaded cardboard boxes from her garage, like we were doing a normal errand. No speeches, no tears in the driveway, just quiet, determined movement. I packed when Eric wasn't home. Not everything, just what mattered. My documents, my clothes, a few things from the bathroom, and photos of me as a teenager, me with friends, me before I learned to shrink. Not a single wedding picture. Halfway through, my phone buzzed. Where are you? I stared at it. My finger hovered. Then I set the phone face down. For once, I didn't answer on command. When I was done, I walked through the empty rooms one last time, locked the door, and went back inside long enough to place the key on the kitchen counter. I didn't ask permission to leave, and that shocked me almost as much as it would shock him, that first night in my new place. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, not because anything was happening, because nothing was, and my body wasn't used to that. The apartment was quiet in a plain, ordinary way. I could hear the air conditioner click on. I could hear a neighbor's muffled TV through the wall. No footsteps behind me. No sighs. No comments about my body, no tone that made me brace. I ate a real dinner, not diet dinner, just food. I didn't open an app. I didn't do mental math. I stood at the counter, chewing slowly, and realized I wasn't performing for anyone. Then I showered, put on an old t-shirt, and got into bed with clean sheets that smelled like my laundry detergent. I slept straight through the night. When I woke up, the light coming through the blinds looked normal. My chest felt normal. And the twist was this. Silence didn't feel lonely. Silence felt safe. A week later, I took a morning off work and drove to the courthouse with my hands sweating on the steering wheel. The building was plain and beige and busy. Like heartbreak is just another errand in America. I sat on a hard chair, filled out forms, and when it came time to sign, my hand shook. Not because I wasn't sure, because making it official felt like stepping off a ledge. When it was done, I walked back to my car and just sat there for a minute, staring at the paperwork on the passenger seat. Then I called Eric. He answered like nothing had changed. I said, "You'll be served." He laughed. A short, sharp laugh. "You're really doing this." I heard my own voice come out steady, almost calm. Yes, and I hung up. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't drama. It was the first time in years I said yes to myself and meant it. After I filed, life didn't magically turn pretty. I still heard things through mutual circles. I still saw the company posts. Eric was still on the road. Dana was still there. They kept moving like nothing had happened. Like my pain was just background noise. And some mornings, it hit me just as hard as the first day. That drop in your stomach. The sudden heat behind your eyes. The thought that you wasted years on someone who never protected you. But something had shifted. I didn't blame myself anymore. I stopped replaying my weight like a crime scene. I stopped counting pounds like they explained cruelty. Because the truth finally settled in. Quiet and undeniable. It was never about my weight. It was about a man who wanted me small. Small in my body. Small in my voice. Small in my needs. So I started walking. Not to be chosen. Not to compete with her. Just to feel my lungs working. To feel my legs carry me forward. To remind myself I'm still here. And that was a different kind of love. One afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from Eric. "You'll never find better." I didn't open it right away. I just stared at the preview on the screen, feeling that old instinct to flinch, the old training, the part of me that used to scramble to prove him wrong, or soften him, or earn back basic decency. Then I read it again, slower. "You'll never find better." And I understood what he was really saying. He wasn't talking about love. He wasn't talking about partnership. He was talking about control. He was reminding me of the cage, hoping I'd step back into it. He still wanted me small, not just thinner, smaller in my confidence, smaller in my choices, smaller in my life. I deleted the message. Then I blocked his number. No speech, no warning, no drama. Just done. This April would have been 18 years. The divorce finalizes in May. And I won't lie, I'm still heartbroken. Some days it hits out of nowhere. Like my body remembers before my mind does. But I'm not trapped anymore. Here's what I learned the hard way. Betrayal hurts. But contempt is what destroys you. When someone tells you their secret life is none of your business, they're not just cheating. They're erasing your right to dignity. And when you start changing your body, your voice, your needs just to keep the peace, that isn't love. That's survival mode. I wanted basic things. Love, safety, respect. I didn't ask for perfection. I asked not to be humiliated in my own home. If this story leaves you with anything, let it be this. You don't have to earn decency. You don't have to shrink to be worthy. And peace is not something you apologize for choosing. All right. Let May be painfully clear. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern. And it showed up fast. A stranger asked you something stupid at a bar, you said no. And Mark turned you from wife to suspect. That's red flag number 1, suspicion. Without proof. Then he started the classic toxic combo, moving the goalpost, demanding the truth after you already gave it, and treating your calm as evidence. That's not concern. That's control wearing a suit. And when someone blocks the exit, When your "I need air" becomes "Why are you running?" That's not love. That's a power test. The moment he rewrote the story, you pushed me, you escalated. That's gaslighting 1. Oh, 1. Not loud, not messy, just cold. Tidy cruelty. So here's your takeaway straight up. Your no is a full sentence. You don't audition for basic respect. You don't negotiate reality with someone who benefits from you doubting yourself. If you're hearing this and your stomach drops, trust that. Red flags don't get greener with time. To the villain of this story, karma doesn't need your permission. It just keeps receipts. And to you, sweetheart, this debt may clears it. But remember, these eyes are always watching. Don't let your name end up on May's blacklist next episode. Hit subscribe, because around here, justice doesn't show up late. It shows up ready. A final note from the library. While these stories find their roots in the halls of Reddit, they are artistically reimagined to speak to the heart. Any likeness to reality is mere coincidence. The emotions, however, are very real. Walk with empathy and let justice lead the way. Thank you for watching.